I only learned about this about 2 years ago, that together these sectors account for 99.7% of all the businesses in the United States. In terms of people, these sectors employ over 50% of the overall working population in the United States. So truly they are the backbone. And they are in need of this hackers' help. And so in my mind, you all are heroes. Now we just need to bring the heroes to the limelight where the bigger society get to know about you, as well as we, people in the community, already know. So that is my background and why I'm doing this. The other side of my background is that I would like to think I'm one of you guys, the hackers also, because when I was in the role of cyber investigator, I actually helped the Secret Service, actually created a competition between Secret Service and FBI. They both raced to a hacker's house to get the hacker arrested based on the information that I and my team provided to them. What they did was...
Drive the screen up.
Yeah, it keeps on flickering because of that. And so then through that experience, I saw that it is too imbalanced. One hacker wreaked so much havoc and brought so many people to try to catch him. And more hackers, one gets arrested, one more rise up to fill up the spot, as you all know. And so we basically needed to work together to make this formula, not a formula, but the landscape a bit more in favor of us, the good guys, not so much in favor of those bad guys. So that's the backdrop of why I got started in this nonprofit. The next altogether I don't have a whole lot of slides, but I wanted to share some experience that since I launched this nonprofit, what we have been doing. And at the local level, as Rod mentioned, we got all the local governments connected now. And also at the national level, even international level, we have some things in the works. So let me get my slides up. So over here, this slide template, by the way, I borrowed from a DHS CISA, the Cyber Summit that happened recently in September, because we actually presented there, so I just borrowed that.
Yeah, sorry, keep stretching for the...
Oh, connection, I guess.
Oh, it's usually the resolution.
Yeah, we can change the resolution.
Change the resolution there, yeah, usually what cars are.
We can change this.
Okay. So while it's getting looked at, I wanted to share 3 events that I have been part of. From those events, I observed a couple things. The first event happened this summer in Washington, D.C. So internationally, there is this Smart Secure Cities and Communities Challenge. That is still led by NIST and Department of Homeland Security. And it's an international challenge. As of now, over 200 cities worldwide are participating in it, along with many organizations, and both for-profit and non-profit organizations. At that event, you'll see that the leaders, including Congress, 2 congressmen came to speak. One, Congressman Boyle, said to everyone's applause. Nowadays, we have great technologies, but we the people have been left behind, including in the domain of cybersecurity and privacy. So he said it right there. And I had the fortune to be part of that organizing team. Our nonprofit is listed as a co-sponsor or partner of the event altogether. And I also predicted in that leadership forum, I said, I'm sorry, but the weather forecast for data breaches is going to is experiencing some storm, some cloudy situations, but is going to get worse before it could get better. Guess what? Unfortunately, my forecast became true, right? Everyone heard about how many cities in Texas all got hacked by ransomware attack. Only one of the cities survived and or responded adequately.
If you want, I can bring my computer.
Okay.
If you have the file, we can switch it pretty quick.
Sure.
Because we're having issues with the refresh rates.
Oh, okay.
So.
My apologies. Would you like me to just talk through, or we just wait a minute until it's up?
You have to get it.
Can the thumb drive use it to download it?
Yeah. I think hearing your stories is very beneficial with or without the slide.
Okay, so I can continue talking and then you can, yeah, okay, appreciate that. So there is consensus worldwide that is a big issue and is lagging behind. And the technology sector are launching forward without considering the people. So there is a huge gap. Leaders all are aware of it. And as a matter of fact, the Congress actually mandated for the smaller businesses to actually get some funding on training. So we'll see. My other event later on will cover that, what's happening at the local level here. So that's one event. The second event I wanted to mention is in September, so only 2 months later, I went back out to the DC area again. This time is Department of Homeland Security itself launched this CISA, the newest agency called CISA. Anyone heard about the acronym CISA? It's a Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So the director, Chris Krebs, a rising star, keep a look, watch him. He's worth of keeping track of. So he was energetic and he actually pointed out also that people, we do not need to rely on fear selling. We can do better. And also, we can do better than just information sharing. I'm tired of hearing just that. So together, let's do something. So that's his call to both the government sectors as well as also just the society, all the evangelists. That includes everyone here. And you are willing to use your own personal time to come to today's session, for example. That means you are already doing what he called out for. So I talked to him in person as well and pointed out to him that that's what CISA has been doing is great. Some private leaders also said that CISA actually this time is the second summit. It had the feel of a startup atmosphere because it's evident that Chris Krebs really want to get all his team to do something. And by the way, CISA has the broad mandate to do everything cybersecurity and privacy related for the country, especially local governments. So mark that. Because all the previous work under, say, SMT, another science and technology department, who are our partners, Now even their budget needs to get okayed by CISA. So that's another side drop. And separately, the need for local level, boots on the ground, that's my key point to the leaders there. I mentioned Chris Krebs himself in person. I mentioned that to the chief counsel, Dan Sutherland. I also mentioned to it the acting chief privacy officer, James Bird, because they, at this point, CISA has only been in place since November 2018. So they have gotten a lot of money and hired a lot of people. By the way, if anyone is interested in government job, look them up. They are in desperate need for good people. So they have been doing that. But what I have tried to tell them is that at the local government and community level, people are needed. Even if they publish a lot of good guidance, they publish the best practices, but then at that conference itself, one woman in charge of her county's election security and everything said, Mike Duffy is another associate deputy director who shared about CISA's, all what CISA has been doing. And so that woman said, this is wonderful. Thank you for doing all the great work. Encouraging to see. But let me tell you, what is my reality? For my entire county of 500,000 people, I have 2.5 IT resources. How am I going to even copy what you have done? I cannot. Please help. So that need for local scalability is loud and clear, I think. Next step, we'll watch how they take that into consideration and scale it up. One example I know how they're trying to do is CISA. I don't think they published it anywhere else, so you're just hearing from me because I heard from CISA's chief counsel. He told me that the day we met in September that they signed a MOU with Greater Washington region. So that includes Maryland, the Capital Columbia district, and the Northern Virginia, so that area. So they have signed an MOU to do their cybersecurity and privacy. But they don't want to publish it because they don't want all the regions to go ask them, hey, what about me? It's not scalable, right? And so what this group that I have been leading is called Cybersecurity and Privacy Advisory Committee. What we have been leading is to help with regional cybersecurity projects and initiatives. And what we do is going to be scalable because it is rallying the local governments to do it and to own it. And several CIOs also said, we are in this. I put aside all my $100,000 on the table. That shows my commitment. So that leads me to the third event, which is local. Rod mentioned earlier. Thank you. Rod has been a wonderful leader and supporter of the effort. And because of your support, Rod, I want to say that also gives me confidence. When I go connect with those local governments and business leaders, say, hey, we do have the community behind us. Exactly right. And so, yeah, besides Rod, as you know, there are a couple of other associations, including IC Squared, ISA, I see Diana, here as well, and WASEC, etc. So we are all connecting up, and Rod, consider an invitation on your desk now that between now and the end of the year, we want to have another luncheon. Last year we had one. And this year we want to have another luncheon of these leaders who are willing and interested in doing something together. So if anyone is interested, let Rod know. And there are tangible projects behind that also. So let me circle back to the tangible project side. All right. In the event itself that happened in Santa Clara County, many familiar faces I see here also showed up that day. So thank you. Let's continue the great work. Some of the CIOs mentioned, right, that they are also trying to rally their resources together, pool their resources together to do, say, training. If one city does training, you go to the vendor, you're going to spend probably, I don't know, $10 a seat for your training program. But if you pull all of the Bay Area's 12 counties and 3 core cities together, you're probably going to reduce that per head cost significantly. So without each jurisdiction coughing up more money, you already can do a lot of the work. And then the money you save from one need can be utilized to do other projects. One other project.
Wait, I'm a little confused on that. So
Sure.
How are they formulating their training? Is it their internal training using outside vendors, or how do they want that to come together?
That's a great question. There are a couple ways. So far, one is that they can pull their resources together and then get a vendor to deliver it for all their employees. Because everyone's scared of ransomware right now. So that's one way. Another way is that there is a regional office called Bay Area Urban Area Security Initiative, URC. So you can look it up. This URC got set up per Congress mandate after 9/11 attack. DHS every year allocates money to the regional urban areas to beef up that region's prevention, coordination, response against cyber attacks. And for the Bay Area, I mentioned about 12 counties and 3 core cities. That's Oakland, San Francisco, and San Jose. All of these regions, for 2019, it gets $27.5 million. Okay. And in the past, this money traditionally always used to go to the emergency services, such as police, fire department, and healthcare, right? Those emergency services. But this is the first year that CISA has required all of these jurisdictions to do a cyber risk assessment. It's called Nationwide Cybersecurity Review, NCSR. So my nonprofit actually has been hired to facilitate this work to ensure that all of these jurisdictions, altogether 19 now, to get their NCSR down by year end so that DHS is willing to get the $27.5 million to the jurisdictions. So this is the first year that CISA is making it clear that, hey, guys, cyber is fundamental. Do it. So that's another one. That URC, in Bay Area could also provide training, and that is coming down the pipeline. Our nonprofit also has been helping in that as well.
So,
Yes.
One of the things with that plan that you just laid out is if you take government organizations that don't have experience of prioritizing, say, cybersecurity, they're not going to have the staff to be able to say what's a risk or not. Talk about how you may be addressing that. Since you're helping them with all of this, because I don't know what the risk is, so it must be no risk.
That I love. See, this is you see right through. This is why it's like our crowd. And like we talk with other people, their angles are different. So you exactly are aligned with our angle, which is, hey, what are we going to do with the results coming out of this NCSR? Or it's just an exercise we have to do, take 2-3 hours of our CISO's time to do it. Indeed, things have been done, and CISA entrusted, or DHS entrusted the organization called CIS. So some of you know, the Center for Internet Services, right? They recently also let know that they are developing the next step about what the jurisdictions can do by leveraging the assessment results. So they have officially announced that. And I think I'd like to say that we are one step ahead of them. Because one jurisdiction, I'm going to keep it confidential, they hired my nonprofit to do this planning, exactly that. So we utilize their NCSR results, which, by the way, consists of 108 technical questions. And that's based on the NIST cybersecurity framework as well. So you have the identify, detect, protect, and the whole thing. So out of those, often, right now, I'll just share candidly, jurisdictions actually, the 5 is considered the recommended minimum level, and 7 is the ideal state. 5 means that they have the plan being implemented. Okay. 6 means that they have implemented the recommendations, as well as have a process to review regularly. And 7 is that everyone is constantly or optimized. Okay. And then below this 5, you have these couple of stage. 1, what is that? I don't know. Right? 2, you have done a little bit, say some documentation, but not really. Some policy, but no procedures. And in 3 and 4, etc., you have some policies in place and procedures in place, etc. So that's how it is rated. And in that jurisdiction's example, they have, let's say, 1/3 of the controls of 108 was the number. So that's still a lot of controls. And how can they get their overall status to the recommended minimum of 5, right? Out of all of this, controls that need help. So that they get my team to help them. And I actually we hired the former Palo Alto City's CIO, a very famous Mr. Jonathan Rickentall, to help us in that project. So the outcome is very satisfactory. I'm happy to report that. And the whole thing is allows the CIO's office to also take it to the budgeting office. Because the CIO, between the CIO and the budgeting office, there is a lost in translation opportunity or a chance. And then between the CIO and the CISO, there's also a layer of lost in translation. So my team is able to break down all of these gaps. And so eventually our outcome allows the CIO to take it to the county people where people don't really use any jargon. Say, incident response, what is that? So we turn that around and say, hey, be in the know. Be at ready, instead of using jargons. And then also for the CISO's team, our output allows them to put down to people. Say, oh, these are our goals, 3 for this year, 3 for next year, and this is what they need to do, and these are the measurements, and this is also how you can get the transparency not just among your own team, and not just among your CIO's office, but also to reach out to all your entire community of your city or your county. So because, right, that's eventually the security and resiliency culture that we are fostering. So our outcome allows the municipality to do upward and downward, building up the culture. Of course, the next thing is for us to also advocate for this good approach to be adopted by CISA's folks, DHS folks. Say, if they want to do it, why not also learn from what people have done? So that's one of my next things too.
Well, I was just gonna, that answers kind of my next question is, how are you planning to take advantage of economies of scale? So with everything that goes to the cloud right now, if you find one county has a cloud thing that works for them to meet these requirements, with infrastructure as code, can you easily duplicate that for every other county and save money across the board? So you can combine all these budgets together to like make a better solution.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. One thing I've learned with government is that trust goes first. So I'll just share candidly. We have done this, a great outcome, everyone's happy, and they are getting us to do it, right? And then also the experience as a end user could be leveraged in this whole evaluation process. So basically, it's, I don't like to use the Yelp as a comparison because this is going to be much more trustworthy. It's from the government people, for the government people, and by a nonprofit. But the functionalities are going to be a little bit similar in that it will have a transparent, trustworthy platform for the local governments to speed up their evaluation of vendors and services. So that is a project that we also have enough interest among the government CISOs. Just need people to come on board and get this project demo. So if we can get a proof of concept or demo, then we could take that to go and apply for grants. So that's one of the examples. We have a few other similar examples for people who want to do hackathon style projects. So that thanks for that reminder. We have a question?
How much of the issues do local municipalities have is the fault of how they're actually set up? Like the actual government structure, every mayor gets to decide what he spends his budget on, and every county gets to decide what they spend their budget on versus having a platform that, hey, everyone use this, put up or shut up.
So that's a great question. I would say, first of all, jurisdictions vary. So that's number one. That's what I'm learning about the political system setup, is that state, they do some things at the state level, and then local, county, and city, they can do things at their level. So they don't have to listen to the state in some things. So even though, California's ex-CISO, Peter Liebert, he recently left. But before he left, he was saying that he wanted to welcome all the local jurisdictions to utilize what they have done at the state level, including a list of vetted vendors. But guess what? There aren't takers, as far as I know. They don't ready to say, hey, you've done it. Let's just use it. Why not? The reason is that the local level, they have their own operational procedures. So they have their own procurement systems. And I looked it up. Some cities' procurement system don't even have information technologies as a category. So it has computers. It may have networking equipment, but that's pretty much it. So let alone cybersecurity, it's not even a category. So how do you go to apply for funding? So that's one of the pain points for local governments.
But I've spoken to the CIO and the CISOs in San Jose, and they do have fundings that they give to their folks to spend, and it is in the millions. So there's money.
Yeah, exactly.
Having tackled that problem on the commercial side with lots of disparate groups, and I've been in the government for longer than I care the only way you can get people to agree is if you make the happy path the easy path. So if you say the cheapest, easiest solution to solve a problem is X, and it solves their problem, they'll choose it. Other than that, every single subordinate unit thinks they can do it better, faster, and cheaper. And you have vendors who promise them that they can. So unless you solve that problem of human nature of I can do it better, then you're not going to have much success pushing that down without like just bringing the big hammer and saying you will do it this way, which never works because we all do it. But where I was getting at was to his question is, if you can make the cheap, easy path that makes it easy for the administrators, easy for the implementers, easy for the administrators, like money, then you get the buy-in, right? And I think that's what you're trying to do at your level is set that up so they can just choose what they need, get the lowest cost, and right?
Yes, exactly. So that's why it's a triangle. Each entity, as we know, which the business guru, don't remember his name, but mentioned, any organization wants to do all three things, but you at the most can do only two of them. Forget doing all three at once. But for government, we know that budget is...
you can go up and down through your presentation.
Oh,
so
okay.
You're not stuck to that.
Yeah.
Just up and down arrow.
You want me to move it?
Do you want me to move it for you?
Oh, yeah, it's okay for now. Oh, I see. Yeah, we'll go back later. Yeah, those are the images from previous events. So those three, good, affordable, and fast. So with government, you already are limited on the fast side. You also are limited on the affordable side. So good is also, that is the reason why we wanted to make sure that we always have the trust of the people before anything else. And as a nonprofit, we solve the issue on the affordable side, right? And then the fast side, that from time to time, we needed to be really mindful of how long a project requires. So for example, one project that we did for a municipality, we said, you wanted to give yourself adequate time to cover it. And then when you are at risk of running over the time, my approach is that I'll do it for free for you without any additional charge. So at least, even though the time may slip a little bit, but at least the other two factors are secured. But even on the quality side, I feel that we are so lucky in the Bay Area, I tell you, that we have access to really world-class thought leaders, and people really are willing to help. So, give you one example, the former Palo Alto City CIO, he is willing to help. We did not even have to pay anything. And other leaders like Gary Hayslip, he has how many followers on LinkedIn? And John, another one, Matthew Rosenquist. So if you guys know, all of these names are big names in the field. And they are willing to take time, whatever time that's needed when I ask them for help. So that's my secret weapon also to deliver those three things. And trust definitely is always paramount. When I say we're going to do something, I always make sure that it's done. Okay, so maybe move up by
If you
one.
have some interest to volunteer for 20 cities,
Yeah.
feel free to let me know, or Lan members. I sort of help.
Yeah, that's security, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
So with that, I mentioned earlier that the way to get connected up and sign up is here on the website. So if you go to over there, Tell Ada, that's where you can see some projects listed in the second one. So you're on your laptop? So maybe you can go to my website, the link, http adaptable security. That's where you sign up, and then someone will be able to get back to you and connect up and understand your interest, and then match you with all of these different projects. As you can see, there are quite a few of them now. The only one thing is that we're too lean a team, so we have not put all these projects I mentioned here on the website yet. So you actually got to be ahead of the website. So that's all. And then I, of course, also welcome people to join and help us out on the website itself. Even ourselves, we needed to get the security up. So we have done a few rounds of penetration tests, also one of our volunteers. And so implementing the results recommendations out of the penetration test also could take some time and skills. So if someone has interest, I welcome with open arms.
All right.
Wonderful.